Who do you think should be the number one team in the country? Well, it's been a 1-month-old discussion at this point in the college basketball world. And we are doing a AP poll reaction. So we will talk about 1 through 10. We'll talk about what I agree with, what I disagree with, what I'm okay with, and especially those number 1 and 2 spots where we've had a lot of discourse about the last month in college basketball. So we'll hop straight into the video, press the subscribe button, press the like button, and we will start with the number 1 team in the country. And at number 1, nothing has changed. I'm sorry, Michigan fans. It's the Arizona Wildcats. And I will say it again. I say it in all my AP poll reactions. The AP poll does not matter. It doesn't at the end of the day. So we'll talk about it. Arizona, they just came off a 19-point win at Utah. Granted, Utah is not very good, but they dominated that game, okay? They had another great game from Jaden Bradley. Koa Pete had a good game. Braden Burries was in double figures. They looked good. They looked like Arizona, right? I've talked about it with them. They probably look like they're going to be 20-0 when they head to BYU on January 26th. I think that's what we should hope for because that would make for a great top 10, potentially top 5 or 6 matchup if things go the right way for BYU. So Arizona's going to stick at 1. Until they lose, they will be the number 1 team in the country. It's plain and simple. So Michigan fans, don't get too worked up about it. We will talk about Michigan. Arizona fans, enjoy it because it is cool to be the number 1 team in the country. And to be honest, they're playing like the number 1 team in the country. So enjoy this. Enjoy Tommy Lloyd. Enjoy Koa Pete and Braden Burries while they're here. And Jaden Bradley as a senior. Enjoy it. So Arizona, they're at 1, and we are good with it. At number 2, we have the Michigan Wolverines. Now, this has been a constant theme the last couple AP poll reactions because it's just been Michigan and Arizona at the top and who should be where. Now, I agree. I'm sorry. I was saying Arizona should be 1 because of their resume. But look, if you're just looking at the eye test, which I think does matter a lot, you gotta think about putting Michigan at 1 eventually, even if Arizona doesn't lose. I hate to say it, but that's what's got to be done maybe. So I'm not going to complain about it. They did just beat USC by 30, 96-66. USC's shorthanded, okay? They're shorthanded, but that's still, I'll call them a decent USC team. And then they have Penn State this week and Wisconsin. I'm excited to see them go on the road. I want to see them on the road. I'm sick of seeing them in Ann Arbor because whenever they play in Ann Arbor, I just know they're going to kill everyone. I don't want to see them lose, but I want to see them, I want to see them challenged. I think even Michigan fans want that. It's fun. I'm sure it was fun to see them beat teams by 30 for a month straight, but let's see some adversity. Let's see what this team's really made out of. Their schedule's very backloaded. They have Duke, Purdue, Illinois, Michigan State twice, and that's all in February besides the first Michigan State game on January 30th. So I think their only loss of the year is going to be at Purdue. I could be wrong. They might not lose at all, or they might lose 3 or 4 games. At Illinois is just that's not a walk in the park. So we'll see what happens. Michigan's at 2. I kind of want to see them at 1 just because they are the best team in the country. I'm ready to admit it. But, you got to give Arizona their flowers as well. So however you want to put them, as long as they're at 1 and 2, interchangeably, I'm fine with it. That's what we'll say. I'm fine with. They are the top 2 teams in the country. We can call it a 1A, 1B. We will move on to the number 3 team in the country. So we'll move on to number 3. And yes, the top 5 stays exactly the same as a couple weeks ago. It's Iowa State. They opened up Big 12 play with a big, dominant 21-point win over West Virginia. And then their next game, they play Baylor. So, Baylor's actually looked solid. Obviously, they've been in the news a lot recently with the James Najee addition, but they're a solid team. They look like they're going to probably make the tournament, probably be a 7 to 10 seed around there, but they could play their way higher. They're going to get the opportunities to. So they have a big game Tuesday, January 13th at Kansas, at Allen Fieldhouse. We'll see what happens with that game. Hopefully Darren Peterson's fully healthy. That is a conversation for another day. I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get, destroyed by Kansas fans or if there's Darren Peterson, just diehards out there. But yeah, at Kansas, you got at UCF in a couple weeks, and then their schedule is very backloaded as well with Texas Tech, at Arizona, at BYU, versus Houston, versus Kansas again. So the Big 12 is going to be a lot of fun. We've talked about the Big 12 a lot. 4 teams in the top 10, 4 teams in the top 9. So the Big 12 is going to be a lot of fun. It's even the teams that aren't at the top, when you go on the road to play those teams, those are going to be games you have to watch against Baylor. So Iowa State, they're at 3, still undefeated. I'm kind of curious to see how long this is going to last because, yes, they haven't played the craziest schedule. Obviously, they won at Mackey and they ran through the Players Era tournament, but they didn't play the craziest Players Era tournament. And I'm not taking anything away from Iowa State. I love Iowa State. I love their team. I love Josh Jefferson, love Momchilovich, love Taman Lipsey, Torrey, Buchanan. I love their team, okay? I'm just saying, I didn't think they'd be undefeated still. So I'm kind of curious. If I had to take a guess, I think they're going to I don't know. I was going to say at Kansas, but I'm not a big fan of Kansas this year, so I don't know. We'll see. Let me know when you guys think Iowa State's going to drop their first game, and Arizona when they're going to drop their first game. I think a lot of people think at BYU, but could be earlier, could be later. We'll see. We'll move on to the 4th team in the country, though. At number 4, it's a team that their fans probably think they should be at number 1, the UConn Huskies. Now, I'm kind of joking with that, but the way UConn fans talk on Twitter, you'd think this team could compete in the NBA. And nothing against UConn fans. I've been to UConn games. I like watching UConn. I like their team a lot this year. I like Demery a lot. I'm a big Solo Ball fan. I just think some of their fans are delusional. So I'm sorry if you're a UConn fan. I don't mean all of you. You could probably assume the type of fan I'm talking about. One guy was saying they're undefeated. Was legitimately saying they're undefeated because the loss to Arizona just didn't count. I get it, you were shorthanded, but it's still a loss. The committee's still going to look at that as a loss, especially at home. And we can say they lost that game and still say that they are a very good team that might lose 2 or 3 games all year and will be the number 1 seed in the East. So that kind of sums up. They're not going to play a lot of good games going forward. At Xavier, those are the games that in years past have been tough, and they rolled Xavier. They rolled Marquette at home. They have a game at Providence on Wednesday. Hopefully that's good. Providence is coming off a big win against a bad St. John's team. The Big East is just so bad. It, hurts to watch. Hopefully the Villanova games are fun with UConn. But, at Seton Hall could be a good game. But, versus DePaul, they're going to roll DePaul at home. A lot of these games at Campbell just aren't going to be interesting. They're just not. And that's a good thing. That means I'm saying UConn is very, very good. The problem is St. John's isn't even a lock to make the tournament. So right now, UConn's a lock. Villanova's looking good. St. John's needs to figure it out, and they need to figure it out fast. Okay? But that's not what this is about. We're talking about UConn. I think UConn loses 1 or 2 more games the rest of the year. They're going to roll through the Big East tournament, and they'll be the number 1 seed out East. And I picked them to go to the Final Four before the year. I'm sticking to it. I think Duke will probably get the 2 out East, and I think UConn is just way, 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 way better than Duke, which we will talk about. But yeah, UConn's at 4. You can't put them ahead of any of the undefeated teams, so them being the highest rated 1-loss team is a very good thing. So with that being said, UConn's at 4, and we will move on to number 5. At number 5, we have the Purdue Boilermakers. Now they stick at number 5. I think we're all okay with this. The lowest they dropped was 6 after the Iowa State loss. And they just haven't, a lot of teams in front of them haven't lost. They haven't lost. And they moved up a spot, which is good. I'm glad they're ahead of Duke. And I'm glad they're behind UConn. Because that loss to Iowa State was ugly. But they look like they're back. They beat Auburn by 28. They won at Wisconsin, which is a good win. And Braden Smith became the all-time Big Ten assist leader, which is very cool. Congrats to Braden Smith. They have a game at versus Washington and versus Penn State this week. And then they have a few higher level games. They have Iowa, USC, UCLA, Illinois, Indiana. If they can win all of those games, I'm ready to move them up. I'm ready to move Purdue back up. But it's gonna be hard to win those Big Ten games on the road. So, if Braden Smith plays his game, if TKR plays his game, Clough's been great. Lawyer, if he hits his shots, Purdue's going to be tough to beat. And they can make a run in the Big Ten. If they have an off game, they can be beat on any given night. So, Purdue at 5 is cool. I'm excited for, 2-3 weeks from now to see how they fare in those games. I'll leave it at that. So, Purdue, they round out the top 5, and then we will move on to number 6. At number 6, the team I was most excited to talk about. If you don't know, or if you don't already know, now you know, the Duke Blue Devils. And I'm not excited for it in a good way, and I'm not a Duke fan. I like JJ Redick, I like the jersey. I don't like this team. I don't like watching them. And I saw someone tweet, I can't find it, but someone tweeted the other day, college basketball is a long, long season. At this moment, and this is a Duke fan saying this, at this moment, this Duke team cannot compete for a national title, and I couldn't agree more, okay? I'm not saying they can't get there. I think a lot of people know this team eventually will probably be capable of winning it all. Right now, this team's not very good, right? You're getting 28 from Isaiah Evans, and you're barely squeaking by Florida State. Also, Georgia Tech at home. You were 27.5-point favorites, and you won that game by 6 points. You were losing late in the game. What? You're supposed to be killing these teams. You are supposed to be killing these teams. Georgia Tech is not going to compete in the ACC. Florida State is not going to compete in the ACC. Why? What's going on? Obviously, the Texas Tech loss was just a collapse. It was a collapse. But, ever since the Florida game where they squeaked by again, it's like they just haven't looked right. I know they had the win at Michigan State. I've talked about Michigan State. I'm not a big fan of them. I'll give Duke their flowers. That's a very, very good win. It's going to be a very, very good win on Selection Sunday. I'm just worried about this team. You play at Louisville tomorrow. No Mikal Brown Jr. That is a game, even though it's at Louisville, you are now supposed to win with no Mikal Brown Jr. You'll probably be favored by a couple points in it. Versus SMU, that game's at Cameron Indoor, top 25 matchup. You're going to be favored by 7 to 10 points in that. You have to win that game, and I don't want to see it that close, right? These games at home, you're Duke. You have the National Player of the Year. Why? I don't know. I'm worried about them. I'm going to make a whole video about it, about Duke, what's going wrong with them, because I think, in my eyes, it's pretty obvious, but I don't know. So, Duke's at 6. I wish they were lower, because it's like the eye test. If you want to have Michigan higher, you also need to look at putting some teams lower from the eye test. And there's a couple teams I would like to put in ahead of Duke, and we will get into those teams right now. So, Duke is at 6. At number 7, we have my third best team in the country, the Houston Cougars. Now, I'm saying they're my third best team in the country based off the eye test only. They're 13-1. They got a gritty win at Cincinnati. And I think currently, if you had them play Duke, they would beat Duke. They are just a better team than Duke. I think it's that simple. Their guards would blow Duke's guards out of the water, and then they have the front court to I don't think anyone can stop Cam Boozer, but contain him, I just don't get. They both have one loss, and you can argue it's an equal loss. Texas Tech and Tennessee are probably around the same caliber of team. I don't know. I think it has a lot to do with the East Coast bias, the Duke brand, but to think, in my opinion, right now as a neutral, I'm not a fan of either team, to have Houston behind Duke, I just don't agree with. I think Houston should be ranked 6th, and I think Duke should be ranked 8th, but look, it's the AP poll. It doesn't matter. I should listen to what I've been saying for the last month. It doesn't matter. So, with that being said, we'll move on to number 8. At number 8, we have Gonzaga, and this is fine. They were at 7 previously ahead of Houston. Look, they did not look great. We all saw it. They struggled mightily against Seattle, and they struggled a little bit against San Diego. These are teams they should be destroying. They should be destroying. You lose a game at home to Seattle, and your resume does not look as good as it once did. It's going to be tough to get those good wins in West Coast Conference play. We have established that they have done enough, though, where as long as they don't lose a really bad game, they will be the 2 seed out West. They just will. So, Gonzaga, I'm fine with them at 8. And with the AP poll not really mattering, as long as they stay in the top 10 and nothing drastic happens, they will be where they want to be when March comes, which is a top 2 seed out West. So, Gonzaga's at 8. We're cool with that. I still think they're a very good team. I just think they're working through a few things at the moment. So with that being said, we will move on to number 9. At number 9, this team moves up one spot, BYU. And BYU, they got a nice win at Kansas State on Saturday. Now, I don't think people realize that's a nice win in Big 12 play. It is not easy to win on the road against those middle of the pack teams. You saw it with Kansas, and I don't want to say UCF is like middle of the pack, but in the Big 12, sure. So you see it, like it's not easy. Winning at Kansas State against like a pretty talented team is a good thing. That is a very good thing for Kevin Young's squad. The Bands had another nice game. I really hope that they win the rest of their games up until the Arizona game, and Arizona does the same, and we have just an absurdly good matchup at BYU. So BYU at 9. Would I be fine with them a little higher? Yeah, I would, but as long as they're in the top 10, it's fine. So we will now move on to number 10, which I've been very excited to talk about. At number 10, we have Nebraska ball. Fred Hoiberg's Huskers squad got a big top 10 home win against Michigan State on Friday night. Court storming, all of that. It was great. It was so, like, Nebraska, they are here. I think they're legit. I don't know if, I hate to say it, but I'm going on record now saying they're going to lose to Ohio State tonight, okay? They're going to lose to Ohio State tonight. It's a big letdown spot. Ohio State, they're talented. They're a talented team in Columbus. Like, if that game's in Lincoln, I would never pick Ohio State, but it's hard to win on the road in college basketball. But yeah, Nebraska, like, they're good. They're a well-built team. They're good. They'll defend. They can shoot. It's very cool to see them in the top 10, and it's just like it's great. It's great. I don't think people expected this. Obviously, they have the longest win streak in college basketball, dating back to last season. So yeah, I hope they can keep it up. I'm not a Nebraska fan, but I'm a fan of college basketball, and them being good and like seeing them in the top 10, it's cool for college hoops. So good for Fred Hoiberg, good for his players, and yeah, I'm excited to see them play tonight against Ohio State. That'll round out the top 10. Not too many changes, but enough where I wanted to make a video and talk about it. Because, look, I had a few gripes with it, right? Duke, I don't think they should be ranked as high as they are. I think BYU should probably be above Gonzaga after, I know Gonzaga didn't lose, but 2 shaky games against not good teams. But yeah, we'll talk about it every week. We'll talk about the AP poll. Once conference play like really heats up, it'll be changing a lot more. Like a lot. The AP polls will look a lot different week to week. It just will. That's what happens in college basketball, and that's why the game is so great. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like these types of videos, subscribe. We have them coming every single week. We're going to have a video coming this week that you guys will want to tune into. It'll be a little bit different, but I think you guys will enjoy it. I think the majority of fan bases will enjoy it. One fan base won't. But look, I like making these types of videos, right? My reactions. I like previewing and recapping games as well, but I like reacting to stuff. I like talking about it, analyzing it, going through it, all that. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe, leave a like. Let me know what you guys agree with, what you disagree with. If you think I'm an idiot, let me know. So tune into the next video. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. CBB Today. Peace.